There are people right now who could shift exactly how they operate if they are around people and have peers that help them to set the standard in which they operate. And whether you know it or not, you're either operating at the pace of your peers or your peers are operating at the pace of somebody setting the tone. And we have to ask ourselves, are we setting the tone or are we adjusting to the tone of people who are around us who are not allowing us to become the best versions of ourselves?
If you're a go-getter, faith-driven, and family-focused, and need to break through to your next level, this is the podcast for you. Your self-talk can reshape every area of your life. It's time to dream and think big. Welcome to the Self-Talk Experience with Darnell and Tracy Self. It's time to elevate, baby. Let's get into the show.
Welcome to the Self-Talk Experience. I'm so excited today. Well, I'm always excited, but yes. I'm really excited today, especially because I have no idea what we're talking about. You didn't tell me.
I just said, hey, look, let's get on here. Let's talk a little bit.
We just started rolling.
Because I have something on my mind.
Oh, okay.
That I wanted to share.
As long as you're not putting me on the spot.
I never know. It's organic. So, that's just... All right, so look, check it out.
Okay. Here we go.
You ready?
I am.
Welcome to the Self-Talk Experience, family. I'm excited because sometimes we have this self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay.
Like self-prophesizing. Mm-hmm. And, I'll share a story. This will help us out.
Okay.
So my friend Don shared this story with me, and it made me think about this episode.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He said that there was a man who had a very successful hot dog stand. And this hot dog stand was so successful that he's able to send his son to college and pay for it through the revenues and profits from this hot dog stand. He went to business school with the profits from this hot dog stand. And so when his son graduated with his business degree, came back home to give his dad some advice in running this hot dog stand.
Okay.
He's like, Dad, I see you're doing well, but I just want you to know there's a recession coming up. You should probably limit your inventory.
Okay.
So his dad's like, okay, you went to college, so I'll limit my inventory. Limited his inventory and started selling less. So because he started selling less, he limited his inventory even more. And which means he started making even less. So he went back to his son. He's like, son, you were right. Recession was coming. Because we're at 50% of the profits we used to earn. And the point is this, that was self-fulfilling. And it happens to all of us who stop doing what we should be doing because we think that a certain result is coming. Like I've heard people say, even in my business, yes, not a lot of money to be made anymore. So they start doing less because they don't believe there's any money to be made.
Got it.
And because they start doing less, they actually start making less. And because they make less, they're like, see, I told you, no money to be made. And because they start making less, they do even less because they realize to themselves, there's no reason for me to put towards more effort because I'm not even making any money. So they do even less.
Well, that could be with anything in life, right?
Anything.
That could even be with a relationship or a friendship. You could say, well, they're not doing this anymore, so I'm not going to do this anymore either. And then they see you not, and everybody's not doing, and then
Everybody's
it ends
doing
up,
less.
it's like we're probably not going to be together anyway. And then you eventually aren't together.
That's exactly right.
Because everybody stopped doing or didn't think to do.
It makes sense. They stopped working towards a relationship because they said...
They told themselves it's not going to work anyway.
That's exactly right.
So I'm just going to stop doing A, and I'm going to stop doing B, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse.
That's exactly right.
Wow.
So check this out. If we say, let's use relationship,
okay,
that it's not going to work out, then we have to make the decision that, you know what, but I'm going to fight for it. And you work harder towards it. Or you do less because you feel like it's not, and because you do less, the relationship is worse. Mm-hmm. And because it's worse, you do even less until there is no relationship.
Right.
So we use business, use relationship, let's use fitness. I mean, nothing I do, I don't seem like I lose weight anyway. So it doesn't matter. So I'll just eat whatever at midnight.
But then
I'm speaking to
you'll-
myself, by the way. This is what I did during the pandemic. So it's a pandemic. Who cares? The kids are home. We just start eating chips. I would eat a whole bag of chips while I'm watching a movie, like an entire big party bag.
That was
Milan and
bad.
that, right?
That was bad.
And so it's like, oh well, and so what happens is you end up, yes, unhealthier or bigger. So
But then you say, see, I knew I was going to get bigger.
Exactly right. I mean, it was no reason anyway. I'm just a big person.
Right.
And because you said I'm just a big person, well, big people eat more. So all these things, and it's self-fulfilling. And people do it all the time. We do, and look, I'm not judging anybody. Everything I've mentioned, I've done.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, and these are, relationships I've had with people, with friends, or business partners.
Sure.
And it's like, probably not going to work out.
Yes,
So I stopped.
Probably not a match anyway.
Exactly right. And it may not be, by the way. It may not be. And that's okay. But you have to at least take full responsibility. Right? And we talk about this all the time. The thing we trick ourselves into believing, our mind finds evidence to confirm for us.
Right.
So if you say there aren't any good men, every single time anyone does anything wrong, your mind will find evidence to confirm that, see, I told you. But if you don't believe that, it's just a mistake that you're going to attempt to correct so that that man becomes better for you.
Right. I get that. But and also too, if you have tricked your mind in such a negative way about any particular thing, even when something is positive, you say, oh, well, that never happens. That's once in, so like you say, if you say there are no good women out here, and then you do happen to get one,
Right.
You're like, yeah, but I mean, this is
Probably
it's
not
probably
gonna
not going to work
last.
out anyway.
Yep.
So you can still mess yourself up,
Yep.
even when it does look like it could work
Yep.
or be a brighter side.
Yep. No, that's very true. It's very true. So I guess what I'm saying with this particular talk is, in this episode, is that we have to be careful putting ourselves in a position, like we have to take responsibility. This is what the tough part is in this whole self-talk, is that in the end, we have to say, you know what? I caused that.
Right.
I caused that because I'm the one, and that's okay if you're okay with that, right? Because perhaps it's like, hey, look, I'm actually completely healthy or happy with my current condition. Mm-hmm. You can't complain about it and say, I can't believe. Sure you can, because you did it. Sure you can, right? Or I did it. Let me put it on me, and so I'm not, beating up on the audience. I did it.
Sure.
Sure I can, right? There were times where my business wasn't doing what I thought it should do. Mm-hmm. But when I took self-inventory, I realized that I had stopped giving it once what I used to give it. I was expecting it to continue to build momentum and move forward like it was some snowball rolling down a hill, just getting bigger on its own. But I was no longer a part of the process like I used to be.
Well, you took your foot off the gas.
Right, which is okay if I have put people in position. So if you got a good staff because you own a business and you've got great management and they're managing your staff. However, you and I both have run into people in customer service oriented places. And we could be mad at the employees, but sometimes I speak to the manager and I realize why the employees had no customer service, because the manager had poor management and leadership skills.
That just happened to you.
I know.
Did you already talk about that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, that was terrible. That was bad. That was bad.
I'm assuming you want me to talk about it because wait, you just left that out there. You just kind of laid it out. Did you already talk about that? That was bad.
I'm sorry. No,
Everybody
I
wants to
didn't know.
know.
I was just saying, I didn't remember. You may say, no, we talked about that already.
No, we didn't. But because we're talking about taking full responsibility, and I was taking my son shopping and they said there's no fitting rooms. So I'm like, what do you mean there's no? Shorty, the fitting room's right back there. There's a men's section, women's section, and kids section. So there's got to be fitting rooms in one of these sections. And in fact, there are fitting rooms in each one of those sections. But they said that none of them were available. And so my son tells me this because he went back to go try on some items. I'm like, well, no, son. They're fitting rooms. So I asked the sales guy, I say, look, can my son try on these clothes somewhere? And he was like, oh, no, sorry. We got so much inventory and so much stock in the back. We're not allowing anybody back there. I said, hold on. You got stock in every fitting room because there are multiple fitting rooms in each section. And he was like, yeah. I said, who's the manager? He says, Chris. And he stopped there. I said,
who's Chris?
Who's Chris? Like, I don't know. Who's Chris? Bruh. So BRUH, bruh. So I'm like, who's Chris? And he's like, he's over there. Not, hey, I'll take you to Chris or let me go get Chris. So I go to find Chris. I walk into the women's section. I'm in the men's section, walk in the women's section. I ask a guy, I'm looking for Chris, the manager. He asked a young lady, watch this, Janelle. He asked a young lady, he says, should I get him? He's in the break room. Should you? So I said, before the young lady can answer, I said, yes, you should get him.
Oh, no.
Because you know how I get. And I said, yes, you should get him. But I wasn't yelling anything. Yes, you should get him. So the female says to the guy I was talking to, yeah, you should get him. So he's like, hold on, he's in the break room. Now he walks to the kids section. So he's in the kids section and he goes into, I guess, the break room. I couldn't see, but he comes back out. He's like, yeah, he'll be out in a little while. So 5 minutes go by and it feels like 50 minutes because I just want my son to try to close.
Is that when you called me and I didn't answer?
Yes, I called you because I needed a second to hey, I don't want this to come out on Chris.
I didn't answer. I'm so sorry.
This is going to mean something to this episode. 1 second. So a young lady sees me waiting. She's like, can I help you? I said, yeah, I'm waiting for Chris, the manager. Oh, let me go get him because maybe I didn't tell her that somebody had already gone back. Mm-hmm. So she comes back out. Oh, she's like, can I tell him who's waiting for him? I said, yeah, Darnell Self. Like that, that doesn't make a difference. But she comes back again, says, yeah, he said you're going to have to just wait a few more minutes. So I'm like, come on, self-talk. Say the right things to yourself.
Yes.
Talk good to yourself.
Talk good to yourself.
So Chris comes out.
Okay.
If I had to guess, I'd say he was in his 30s. Mm-hmm. And Chris says, can I help you? And I said, hey, Darnell Self, my son's would like to try on some clothes, but they said all the fitting rooms are full. What do we need to do for him to try on the clothes? Because I never ask yes and no questions, because then you get no, and that's it. Mm-hmm. So what do we need to do for him to try on the clothes? Sorry, sir, nothing I can do. All the fitting rooms are full. I said, how are all the fitting rooms full, Chris? When you've got fitting rooms in the men's section, women's section, and children's section, there's got to be one room you can clear out for him, and we're going to spend all of this money on clothing.
Right.
And he says, nah, nothing I can do. So I said, I worked retail for 10 years. And if a customer came in and said they want to try on clothes, Chris, I, as a manager, would move the clothes out of one of the fitting rooms. I would even say, hey, look, we've got a bathroom and I apologize. I'm so sorry. I know this is unprofessional. But because I know that it's on us, not on you, I'm willing to have your son try on the clothes in the bathroom. Like, I'm supporting this business.
Problem. Yeah.
Right. You know what he tells me? If I let you do it, then I got to let everybody else do it. I said, there's nobody in here, Chris, asking you to try on clothes except me for my son.
Oh, my God.
So we're not worried about everybody else. So he was like, nothing I can do. I'm sorry. Sir, I mean, this is the way it is. We're short on staff. I said, is your home office in Barcelona know that this is going on?
How did you know the home office is in Barcelona?
I did my research before I talked to him. That's a tip.
Oh, you were waiting the 5 minutes. You had time.
I had time. I looked it up because I was ready to call the home office. And I said, listen, everywhere we shop, my wife and I shopped around the world. And I've never experienced anything like this where I'm willing to spend money and someone's not willing to accommodate me just trying on clothes. I'm not asking for a discount. Mm-hmm. And he's like, sorry. And I realized his staff is operating at the standard that he allows. And I realized at that moment, because Rayvon and I, when we first walked in, no one said, can I help you? And we were like, no one's even talking to us. So I almost wanted to walk out because you know how we are about supporting businesses or people don't even talk to us.
Right.
But because we were about to go on vacation, I knew. So my point in saying this is that there are people right now who could shift exactly how they operate if they are around people and have peers that help them to set the standard in which they operate. And whether you know it or not, you're either operating at the pace of your peers or your peers are operating at the pace of somebody setting the tone. And we have to ask ourselves, are we setting the tone or are we adjusting to the tone of people who are around us who are not allowing us to become the best versions of ourselves?
This is good, though, because there are some of us out here who don't even know we need to ask the question.
Yeah.
But when you evaluate your self-talk and listen to podcasts like this, sometimes it can prompt you to say, wait a minute, am I setting the tone?
Yeah.
Right? Do I need to do better? Because sometimes we're fine. We think we're fine.
Yep.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And you're spot on. And so again, this was just something I started thinking about because I'm like, listen, sometimes we're at a place and we're like, I mean, so what? We don't have fitting room. And by the way, he said the home office gave him, because I said, how long did the home office give you to get your fitting rooms in order? He said, well, they gave me a few days. How long has this been going on? It's going on for a while. So he already knew he wasn't operating the way he was supposed to, but no one had called him out on it. And because he's the manager, his employees aren't going to call him out. His employees are supporting that because that's all they know.
Yeah.
And that business is not operating like it should. It's operating because it's being managed by someone who's not operating as if they own it. Because the owner would say, look, he's about to spend this kind of money. You find a fitting room for him.
Sure.
So my point is that this self-fulfilling prophecy, we set ourselves up all the time. We don't even realize it because sometimes we don't have people close enough to us to call us out nicely on things that we're saying to ourselves. So when we say, oh, there's no money to be made, so we start doing less and start making less money, somebody should say, well, hey, look, that's not accurate, right? If they know there's money to be made, don't co-sign the weaknesses. Don't co-sign on the weaknesses of people you care about most. Now, if you don't really, again, we talked about this in a previous episode, you don't get caught up in their decisions and choices. If their decisions and choices you can't change, but if they're people who you love dearly and they're in your circle, if they're in your circle, they're also determining where you're headed. Remember we talked about that because they're setting the standard. And so if they're close to you, we should not co-sign with weakness. We should operate in a place where we're looking to help them become stronger.
Well, yeah, my sister talked about your square squad.
Yep.
And it's the 4 people closest to you.
Yep.
So if they're in your square squad, you have to look out for them.
You have to.
Because you want them to look out for you.
It's an obligation.
Yeah.
Unless we say they're not going to be a part of that squad. They're not going to be in your circle.
Sure.
Because they're either dragging you down or helping to propel you up to the next level.
That's good.
So watch the things you're saying to yourself, because remember, the things you say to yourself about yourself eventually determines what and even who you attract for yourself. So make sure you're talking good to yourself.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Self-Talk Podcast with Darnell and Tracy Self. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. And we'll see you next time. And remember, talk good to yourself.